What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome in to the CHGO Bulls Podcast, presented by Coors Light. Make the most of the times you choose chill. Grab an icy cold Coors Light. Get one delivered straight to your door with Instacart. Go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I'm Pack Bulls _Pack Big Day. Bow. BAWL Sports. Will the Go Gottlieb. Will _ Gottlieb. And the one and only Sarah Bear on the controls. What's up there?
Hi.
Happy Monday, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful holiday weekend. Hope everyone still has all 20 digits. If you were playing with them fireworks.
Yes.
Shout out to everybody who joined us for our emergency podcast Saturday night.
They were deep in
Saturday night of 4th of July weekend, of course, is when the Bulls were like, okay, here's the DeMar sign and trade.
Yes.
Huge turnout. Shout out to everybody who joined us talking about that. We're going to talk a bit more about that DeMar sign and trade on today's show, dive a little bit deeper into what the Bulls got, whether or not it was enough, and then also a deeper dive on the player they got in that sign and trade, third-year player Chris Duarte.
I do have a question for you.
Go for it, Dave.
What was your anger level seeing the metered parking when you pulled up?
I wasn't going to bring it up because I'm really salty about it.
Okay.
So thanks for reminding me.
That's what I do.
There was like 5 cars with tickets when I walked up.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah, all across that street.
brutal.
There was 5 orange like envelopes on people's cars.
They about
I
to
was like,
clean
that
up over there, man.
sucks.
How do they get to do that? They just decide, actually, you know what? This is going to be meter. The whole time we've been here, it's been just free street parking, and then all of a sudden, actually, this is going to be meter
Well,
parking.
How does Jerry still get to own the Chicago Bulls? Life's not fair for some of us sometimes.
When it's privatized, you can do it how you feel, man.
I
Thanks,
mean,
Rich.
they just better not do it on both sides of the street.
That's what's going to scare me if they start doing that.
Because if they do,
Yeah.
I legit might just quit. Bye, everybody. I'm going to pay for parking 4 days a week. To hell with that.
You could park a little.
I'm just
further
one
down.
man.
I'm just a man. That's all I am. One man. Don't want to pay parking. I understand your anger. I get it. But did you find parking?
I did. I got lucky.
There you go.
I got lucky. There was a
You
spot
found-
on the other
you
side.
found
parking.
Okay. We found parking. We have conquered the day.
No, I mean, like, meter parking, I'll get over that. I'm more cranky that I'm here. I mean, I love you, but
Yeah. No, I don't get that one. Sarah's happy I'm here.
I'm
Will's
always
Jim's
happy
happy.
you're here.
Lawrence is happy. Tell us why you cranky, Pat.
because my nieces are still in Michigan and I have FOMO.
Okay, I can't do nothing about that.
They were not happy that Uncle Matt had to leave.
Your brother sent me a picture too.
Of course he did. Of course he did.
He said, "Do this what you want." I was like, "Bro, I'm not gonna do nothing."
What,
But it
like,
was an
as if he
adorable
thinks it's
picture.
like blackmail to send you a picture of me looking all cute with my nieces?
It was adorable.
Oh,
I was like, look how. That's why I was like, dude, look how happy my man is right here. He is so happy. Look at him, dog.
Yes, and that's why I'm
I was
cranky.
very happy for you, and that's why I'm cranky.
So I was ripped away from my happy place.
Happiness was
Go back
stolen from me
here to
do
work.
this. Nice shirt, Sarah, by the way.
Oh, thank you. It
Is
was
that
thrifted.
91?
Um,
91 Bulls, a Bulls championship
Oh, that
shirt.
is vintage.
91 Bulls championship shirt. Very nice.
Very
Wicker
cool.
Park. There's a vintage shop. What is it? Round 2? I think it's
Okay.
called. Yeah, they had a bunch of Bull stuff.
Nice.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay.
It's $50.
Oh, that's a steal.
Expensive,
Actually,
yeah.
50 is a steal for that.
Really?
To be real with
I thought
you.
I was getting ripped off.
No, that's a good
Yeah,
deal.
that is a good deal.
That's a good deal.
But speaking of which, shout out to our friend Simon and Cece, Finders Keepers. Check them out on Instagram.
The only place
If you're
we
looking
go.
for awesome OG Bull stuff.
That's right.
Shout out to both Matts, Daniel, Alonzo, Devin, everybody hanging out in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for joining us. And yes, follow Alonzo's advice. Hit that like button, y'all, if you're hanging out with us.
Yes.
All right, guys. So let's dive back into this DeMar stuff. We talked a little bit about it in our emergency podcast on Saturday night, initial reactions. But, Goat, I know you wanted to get a bit deeper into the draft capital that exchanged hands in this DeMar trade specifically. The Bulls walk away with 2 second-round picks. I think nobody in the world except maybe AK and maybe Eversley know what years those second-round picks are coming from.
Probably Monty McNair too, but
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah, whoever sent them that from Sacramento probably knows also. But you were more interested in the fact that San Antonio got a pick swap out of this, unprotected pick swap in 2031 from Sacramento. The Bulls got no such pick swap. Why are you harping on that when we are all kind of in the aftermath of this sign and trade?
well, I think number one is there was just so much chaos when it happened, and I feel like I either missed that or it was somebody reported it wrong as a second round pick. I was getting the impression that it was a second round pick going to the Spurs, and like that didn't feel like too much. I mean, they had given up a second round pick to get off of Devontae Graham, which they needed to do in order to take in Harrison Barnes. You figure Barnes is an upgrade over Devontae Graham, so maybe they call it a wash in that way. But they did get an unprotected swap in 2031. And that's the like valuable asset in this deal to me. I mean, the Kings, they're signing this guy who's 35 years old.
Sure.
2031 is 7 years from now. DeMar's not going to be in the league at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Fox, who's a young player, but still, I mean, he'd be past his prime at that point. Sabonis, same thing. So that's in an era where you expect the Kings to be rebuilding. And that could be super valuable, especially for a Spurs team who has a ton of picks already. And now they're just trying to, maximize the quality of those picks. Okay. And so swaps, I think, in that way can be super valuable. And I feel like if the Bulls had been willing to take on salary in this deal, they could have had a swap or even better, because you have to consider too, like if the Bulls had been the one taking Harrison Barnes' $18 million back in salary, and of course that would push them into the luxury tax, they could have gotten a first round pick, I believe, because they wouldn't have also gotten the seconds. And so when you take that third team out of the equation and you take the seconds out of the equation, that could have been a first round pick coming back to the Bulls, which would have been great going into a rebuild. Now, I'm not saying like I can guarantee you that's what it would have been. And also it would have pushed the team into the luxury tax, which we know wasn't going to happen. But I just feel like at this point, you have $9 or so million before the luxury tax. You got to be using that space to bring in bad contracts and take on picks. You're already in a position where you may lose your pick next year. And I feel like, to me, like I would rather have Harrison Barnes in a first round pick than Jalen Smith. That to me would have been a better use of that cap space that they had this summer. And I just feel like it was a move that I don't want to say it was like a cheap decision, but I thought it lacked foresight, because yes, it's good to like keep the books clear of bad contracts right now, but the whole point of doing that is so that you have space to take in bad contracts for money, because that gets you picks. And when you're in a situation going into rebuild, picks are the most important thing. And to me, the Spurs kind of come out highway robbing both of these teams now, getting the best asset in the deal, and all they had to do was take on a bad contract for it.
Could you real quick just explain people what pick swap is?
Yeah, basically it just means that, the Spurs got the right to get the better of their pick and the Kings pick. So whichever pick they want, they get to swap. Sometimes you can do like a swap worst, and then the Kings would lose their control of the pick, basically giving up that to the Spurs. But a lot of times what happens is teams will, in some of these big blockbuster trades, they'll give you a pick in 1 year, a swap in the next year, and then another pick.
Because of the Stepien rule.
And the reason they do that is because of the Stepien rule, where you can't give up 2 picks in back-to-back years. So this is a way where you get control of a pick without having to give it up. So the Kings in 2031 will still have their pick, but it just will be the worst of those two. And so that I think is really powerful. It's not an additional pick, but you basically get 2 shots at the lottery in that sense. And at that point, like, the Spurs are going to be really good, right? That's going to be Wemby's prime, 27 years old probably. And so that's when you want to be loading up the roster with, infusing it with young talent that can come in on cheap contracts, because presumably you're going to have a couple of max players on that roster, including Wembanyama. And so that's a great way to continue to bring in young talent on cheap, cost-controlled contracts. So I really feel like they were thinking ahead in this. And, I don't think Barnes is like a great player, but he's making a lot of money. I think he can stabilize and help add to a core on the Spurs where they just need vets who can like play decent basketball and help make life a little bit easier on Wemby.
So how can you say it to Bulls fans who everything that you're saying, all they kind of might hear is, dude, it's 2031. Like the Bulls are stinking right now, and they've got to take on the assets to still get off a Zach LaVine contract. So what can you tell them when they're thinking maybe this is the focus of what we're doing in 2024 and not so much 2031?
Well, I just think, who knows what the pick would have been in that situation. Like I said, if you remove the third team from the equation, maybe you're getting, you don't have to take those 2 second round picks, and that can get it so that you get a whole first round pick or a top 10 protected first round pick the way the Bulls gave up. So to me, it's less about like the timing of it. And I get that, like, oh, it's 7 years down the line. Who knows if the Earth will even exist at that point? But at a certain point, like, you do need to prioritize bringing in quality picks, and so that's just something that I would have prioritized. They also did take on Chris Duarte and some cash, which presumably will pay for some of that, if not all of that contract. So it's not like they made a bad move. It's just that I think they could have had more.
Yeah.
And I think that's the way I feel with a lot of these moves is like, I wouldn't say it's like a terrible decision or it was like a disastrous situation. Same with Caruso for Giddey. Like I'm not as low on Giddey as most seem to be. I don't feel like it's the worst thing in the world, but I also feel like they probably could have gotten more. And so that's, I think, how I feel about this. And it just, they didn't leave so much space by avoiding taking on Barnes's contract that then they could absorb even more space when they offload Zach. So one of the ways that you could have managed this was to clear out more room in the DeMar trade or not take anything back. So that leaves you some space to be able to send out Zach's $43 million and take back $55 million. And that helps another team clear off their books. And it makes it a little bit easier for that team to say, okay, we'll take on Zach's contract. Right now, you don't really have a lot more space to be able to take in more money, and you also didn't get the pick. And so while you kept your books like relatively clean and Duarte could be off them next year, it just doesn't really help you to facilitate other things, and you missed out on the premium pick.
We got a super chat here from Football CF Candy talking about this pick swap, saying, who would you guys bet on being a 2 on a championship team? In my opinion, Will, you're dead wrong on the pick swap point. The Kings could rebuild 2 to 3 years before 2031. Appreciate the super chat as always. I think the point is, look, if you're assuming 7 years from now, 2031, is a pick swap that maybe the Bulls could have gotten from Sacramento, is Sacramento still going to have De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and DeMar? I mean, DeMar's going to be like 45 at that point. Like, it is an assumption that a 7 years into his career, prime Wemby, and a strong Spurs organization that seems to regularly build winners. They have their down years, but then they build up winners. Is a team that maybe just cashed in a great pick swap because they'll be good in 2031 with Wemby as their centerpiece, and the Kings might not be because some combination of the younger stars that the Kings have now will have moved on, and the Kings are the Kongs, and they'll probably be a failing organization 7 years from now. That's a safe bet.
It's fair.
It's a much safer bet that the Spurs will be good and the Kings will be bad 7 years from now.
Very fair.
Or also, like I said, I mean, if the cost, the outgoing cost for the Kings was you take on Harrison Barnes, we get DeRozan, we will give 2 second-round picks and a pick swap.
Yeah.
What if it was just we'll take in DeRozan, we'll send out Harrison Barnes, and instead of 2 second-round picks and the pick swap, it's just a first or a top 10 protected first.
Okay.
Like the price could have changed a little bit. It could have been in 2026 or something like that. I don't know. I just feel like you could have had a little bit more negotiating power if you were the team that was willing to take on the bad money.
And the reason the Spurs got the swap from Sacramento is because they were the team that took in the significant salary. The Bulls did not. And as you pointed out, Will, like it's a dead end because bringing in Barnes's contract would have put the Bulls into the salary tax or into the luxury tax. We know that that's not going to happen for a team that's somewhere between not quite competitive and maybe finally actually admitting that they're rebuilding.
Can the Bulls afford to have that foresight, though, Will, with everything that they're dealing with right now? Can they have that foresight worrying about 2031?
I mean, they should. I don't know that it's – I mean, it just doesn't seem like picks are all that valuable to this front office, quite frankly.
Very
like
true.
They've passed on opportunities to acquire
Sadly
them.
true.
And
yes.
I guess that is the bigger issue here. That, like, to me, that's problematic, especially as you enter a rebuild and especially as you're trying to offload – a big contract that you don't want anymore. You need picks for that. And so even if you don't necessarily like believe in the power of them or you feel like the draft is a crapshoot or you aren't like 1,000% confident in your ability to scout, like you're still in a system where those are extremely valuable. And just because you don't want to use them doesn't mean another team won't. And so you can use those in other deals. And yeah, to me, it's like, there should have been a little bit more of a willingness, I think, to take on the money, even if it means sacrificing, maybe you attach a pick to get off of Javon Carter and that helps you be able to take something back. Not taking Duarte or not signing Jalen Smith so that you'd have more space. I just feel like in a certain sense, like that extra space is an asset that they could have used. And instead of using it to take on picks, they used it to avoid taking on picks and take on players that could help them now when they don't want to be good now.
I think there's still lots to this conversation about the Bulls front office valuing draft picks or not and where they are right now with that draft cupboard as they are embarking on this rebuild and what they got from DeMar. And not only DeMar, but Caruso and Drummond as well, some of their key players departing, kind of putting them in this position. So that still ahead, as well as a bit more talk on Chris Duarte, the newest Chicago Bull, still ahead on CHGO Bulls. But right now, we got to talk about the wonderful people with the wonderful app at Circa Sportsbook, offering those tight money line splits and their low hold model, striving always to have minus 110 odds out of the gate, whatever it is that you're betting on. Point total over unders, game spreads. You know, we're really close to having NFL football back.
Right there.
NFL games to bet on is seriously just so close. It's preseason, but
I'll take it.
it's NFL football.
Sold.
Circa also keeps as little money as possible on large market bets like futures and golf tournaments. Hey, what are you thinking for Angel Reese, WNBA Rookie of the Year right now? Because those odds have gotten a lot closer together between her and Caitlin Clark. You can still get solid value on Angel Reese winning Rookie of the Year. Mm-hmm. She's still plus 500, I think, the last time I checked.
Ooh,
yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice.
Maybe you want to do that. You should do it at Circa. Also, of course, we know that Circa has the very best customer service in the biz. Real people behind that Circa brand who resolve any issues you might have in a timely fashion, unlike other sportsbooks who use the dreaded chatbots. No one likes the chatbots. All aspects of that Circa app are being run by the same team that run their main Circa Sportsbook at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, where we will be in, checks watch, 4 days? Summer League. Mm-hmm. Download that Circa Sports Illinois app at circasports.com/Illinois-app to sign up today. Be on the lookout for their events, watch parties, and tailgates. If you or someone you know may have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Text GAMB to 833-234. Visit areyourreallywinning.com.
Sunnyside.
Oh, yeah.
It's your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality hydroponics in the city. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It's that one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary with locations in the city like Wrigleyville and River North to the suburbs like Champaign, South Beloit, and much, much more. And here for the summer is Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor that is perfect for the golf course. Because you all need a little help staying loose on the green. Get it? Head to sunnyside.shop and use the code HICHGO to check out. To check out for 35% off favorite brands such as Cresco, Good News, and more to elevate your first purchase. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only 21 and over, or Illinois Met called holders.
Ew. All right, moving on with this conversation. So the Bulls get 2 seconds and Duarte. Mm-hmm. We'll circle back to Duarte in a little bit. Mm-hmm. But when you think about DeRozan being gone, Caruso being gone, and Drummond being gone, as the Bulls front office finally shifts gears, you're talking about a return of those three players being Giddey, Duarte, 2 second-round picks, and cash. Which, when you're starting a rebuild, even if the Bulls front office still aren't using that phrase, but you are, it doesn't seem like a great return. Then you remember that you still have that outgoing pick next year that you need to prioritize keeping. If it is a Bulls quote-unquote rebuild, there is a lot of young talent that you can like that's still here, whether it be Kobe White coming off of a near most improved player season, arguably maybe should have won that award. Ayo Dosunmu, really strong bounce back year after a sophomore slump. True. Josh Giddey, the newcomer via trade. Dalen Terry working on a shot a lot this summer. The number 11 pick who just arrived, Modest Buzelis. My sweet special boy, Julian Phillips. It's like, okay, it's a lot of good young pieces. But where's the piece? Yeah. And I think our guy, Football CF Candy, brought that up in the comments after we addressed the Super Chat, saying that thought about whether or not the Bulls even have a number 2 on a potential future championship team right now with any of these young people that they have assembled on this roster. Because I would say flatly, no, they don't. I don't see that for any of the young guys that are on this core as the rebuild is taking shape. What do you make of the fact that like this rebuild after the DeMar signing trade looks like it's starting from kind of a rocky place with not a lot of assets?
Well, I think they are banking on the young talent that they have. Like we kind of talked about before, I think the idea here is we have Josh Giddey, we have Buzelis, we have Kobe, we have Ayo, we have Patrick Williams now locked in. That's a core that we can build forward with. And so they didn't want to go through the process of stripping it all down, getting a bunch of picks, having nothing on your roster, playing Julian Phillips 36 minutes a night, and being the worst team in basketball for the next 3 or 4 years. They didn't want to do that. And so instead, what they prioritized was getting guys who have already been productive in the NBA, bringing in talent who you could be a little bit more excited about, and letting them grow together. And I think you either get to have that or the draft picks when you're kind of building from where they were building from. Had they started to tear this down a year and a half ago when they should have, like, you could have had a little bit more to work with. You could have had some of those young players. You would have had a earlier look at Patrick.
Sure.
Kobe could have taken a step forward a little bit earlier, and you could have gotten those picks. It didn't happen this way. So I think a lot of it is just a product of when they decided to actually go for it. It's better late than never, but it is still too late. And I think that's why you end up where you are. Like I said, you do have to give them credit for going down the path that they need to go down. But I do think that they are, I don't want to say like setting themselves up for failure, but they're giving themselves only a very narrow road for success that they really have to walk at a very fine line, because, you're going to have, unless something changes, you're going to have Vooch and Zach LaVine and Torrey Craig and Javon Carter and a bunch of guys that are like competent NBA players, if not really good NBA players in Zach. So there's a chance that this team is better than one of the bottom 10 teams in the league. And if you give up that draft pick, I think that's like the narrow line that you're walking, right? That's the thing at the end of that narrow walkway that you need to get to, because if you trade Zach and can't get anything for him, you ultimately move off of Vooch and maybe it costs you a second round pick. You're going to do that without having that coveted draft pick. That's really like the prize here. And so that has to be the priority. And I think that's also like, that has to be part of the equation when you're talking about how do you manage this Zach situation. Does keeping him push you closer to losing that pick? And if the cost of ensuring you get that pick is that Portland pick or another first round pick, like, is it worth it? I don't know the answer to that, but those are the questions that they have to answer for themselves when you're talking about the fine line that they're walking right now.
Yeah, I agree that the pick is what they're after. And I'm completely okay with them not knowing who's the number one or number two on this team. I said this on the show, on the emergency show. This is why I was so excited to go into this season, because those questions are going to get answered one way or another. We're going to know who's a 1, who's a 2, who's a 4, who's a 6. Like, we're going to figure it all out this season by what happens on the floor. If they had an idea who was a number 1, I think this would be being built differently, and they would actually be trying to do things to win. But since they don't, they're doing everything to try to do those things to lose. And I shouldn't say to lose, but to, go for that pick. But and they have to do that because, again, they're operating from that position of weakness. So I don't see them getting back positive gains from certain things. I'm just willing to take back whatever you want to give me. Give me that belt. Give me that roll of tape. You know what I mean? Give me that poster right there. I'll take all of that. Just hand that to me. I have to be willing to take these L's because of the position they put this team in, and the position they put this organization in with not making those moves previously, as you guys stated. So you have to be okay with and comfortable with them taking these losses, because they can't operate from a position of strength when they're talking about getting rid of Zach or getting rid of Vooch or making any of those kind of moves. But what it's about is the young talent that they have, that they do believe in. They do have faith in the young talent, and I have some faith in several of the guys on the squad. I think we voiced our opinion on which guys we really believe in on this squad. Again, those questions are going to get answered about those guys. Can Dalen Terry shoot? Can Julian Phillips take a leap forward? Can Patrick Williams be a dope player that we think that he should be? Is Modest Buzelis that kind of dude with a three-point shot? What is Giddey going to look like running the point? Can Kobe take another step? You know what I mean? Another league. Can he be a 20-point scorer in this league? What's Ayo going to look like? I completely forgot about Torrey Craig until Will just mentioned him. I forgot he was still here.
Kind of surprised that he picked up this player option.
Super surprised that he picked up that option, man. So he must – I don't know what the reasoning
Maybe
is,
he took
but
a look around at the market and was like,
that could be it.
I'll just stay here.
I'm cool. You know what? It's fine. The food is awesome. Like, I'm cool right here. But that's kind of why I'm excited about it, is the unknown. But it's going to get figured out. It's not going to be a long time. It's just going to be this season. And right now, they don't look like a team that's going to be a winning team. If they get 30 wins, I would be ecstatic. I would be shocked.
See, okay, I don't know about – I wouldn't be ecstatic. I would be a bit shocked.
I'll take 30 because 30, you're still bad. You're still a trash.
I mean, Garcon in the comments saying, like, hey, the Bulls are, like, going to be a 35-win team this coming season.
35.
Or maybe 30. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
35.
Because like this roster right now is a 35-win team, and that's without a serious jump for P. Will, Giddey, or Terry. They could be back in the play-in tournament. I don't see that. You know what I see? I see a team that just lost DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso, and those two players together were 30 of your 39 wins this past season.
Pretty much.
I disagree. I think there's a chance that the Bulls get into the play-in mix.
Oh, God.
I mean, the Hawks were the 10th seed last year with 36 wins. 36 wins gets you into the play-in in the Eastern Conference. It is bad out there.
It's bad.
The Pistons won 14 games last year. 2 of them were against the Bulls. The Wizards
about that.
won 15 games.
Good job, Bulls.
The Hornets won 21 games.
Yeah.
The Raptors won 3 of their last 23 games last year. These teams are terrible. So it's not going to be easy. And that doesn't even mention the Nets, who just traded their best player.
They did.
For draft picks and are going to be tanking next year. It is not going to be like a guarantee that they get into the playoffs, or I'm sorry, into the play-in. But it's also not a guarantee that you are in that bottom 10, because in the East alone, it's not hard to make the play-in. And so they really need to prioritize that, because the worst thing that could happen is, you know, Patrick Williams comes back and plays an 82-game season, and he's just good enough to push you there. And, you know, Zach LaVine has a bounce-back year, and Vooch shoots the ball a little bit better, and Josh Giddey helps some of these guys develop their game a little bit because he's getting the ball up and down the court a little bit more quickly. Maybe Lonzo comes back. Like, I think the pathway to 35 wins is like not that hard to see. Okay. And this is a year where they cannot afford to win 35 games because that's how you set yourself back.
Yeah.
And so I think there should be more moves coming to make things a little bit worse, or like not worse for themselves, but harder on themselves to win more games. I think, you know, to me, like Torrey Craig is a perfect example of a guy who is an asset at $2.8 million. He's a contributor at that number. And like, if you attach him to Zach, now you're getting 2 players for $46 million instead of 1 player for 43. And so I think that's somebody that they can look to move as kind of sweetener in a Zach deal, and also kind of take away from a bit of your ability to have success next year. But I just, with the way the East is, all of a sudden you're the 10th seed and you win a game, and I don't know. I just, that's the kind of scary thing. If they were in the West, this would be no problem.
Sure.
But it's not just like who are the bottom 10 teams in the league.
Right.
It's the Eastern Conference and staying out of the play-in.
Correct. Shout out. I just wanted to shout out Shirtless Wonder to say if they hit 30 wins, I'll give you a shot at the Intercontinental Belt in a balcony match, Big Dave.
I was going to read that comment and then ask you immediately what IC stood for.
Intercontinental title. Yeah.
So that is the champion of participants competing from several different continents?
No. It's the world title, and then it's the Intercontinental title. So
okay, how are those things different?
It's levels to these titles. You know what I'm saying?
So there's the world title.
It's like the gold, the silver, and the bronze. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. It's just levels to it.
But Intercontinental also means competition between continents, which also means the world.
He's got the belt.
Look at him, baby.
Oh, shit.
He's got the
He's
belt.
holding the belt up across the balcony right now.
Ryan, look at Shirtless Wonder holding up the IC belt, son. Look at him holding up the Intercontinental belt.
Sarah Bear's going to take a picture of it so we can show y'all.
He's going to clip it onto the balcony.
Oh, my goodness.
Right there. Damn, I love him. He's amazing. Shirtless Wonder is amazing.
All right, well, so now we need to get to the bottom of this. Dave, would you take that bet? Because he's saying if the Bulls get to 30 wins, he'll give you a shot at the Intercontinental belt in a balcony. Also, I'm very curious to know what a balcony match.
Look at him. He's egging me on. He's talking crazy. You know what? I think I got to accept this.
Man.
Like, you going to egg me on that way, sir? You going to put the title on the line?
What competition can we have between the two of you across a Chicago alley?
I could say, a lot. I could say I only wrestle for world titles because I have the big gold belt at home, baby. I got the Ric Flair title. I wrestle for the big dogs out there. But if you want to put your puny title on the line, I'll happily take that off you. It's no problem. It's all right. We can do these things. I love Shirtless Wonder. Look at the belt. That is the real deal, too. Ain't that the real deal, Ryan? That's the real deal. It is. Look at him, dog. That is the real deal.
I thought we were making up Shirtless Wonder.
He went back inside, but he left that championship belt out just there, just sitting.
Just sitting there looking amazing. Man,
you can't make this stuff up. You really can't.
You know what this kind of reminds me of right now, Big Dave, is the Hollywood Heights, or the Halloween Heist from Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There's a championship belt. It's the cummerbund.
The cummerbund, yes.
Just sitting there waiting to be swiped. Rob in the comments pointing out the good point that this Bulls team kind of overachieved as it was getting to 39 wins this past season. The clutch record of this team.
Yeah, but Zach barely played. Pat barely played. I don't know. I just think, and you can get a boost from playing faster. I know we got to go to ad break here, but I don't know. I'm just not that. I don't know. Yeah. I'm a little concerned about their ability to overperform.
Okay,
fair enough. I mean, it does. We all know it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
I have to know this is Will though. You got to take that with that.
The Bulls will be 3 games under 500 for the rest of time.
He's got to be concerned.
Still more to get to on today's show, including a deeper look at Chris Duarte, the newcomer, and more of y'all's thoughts in the comments. Hit that thumbs up. Let us know what's on your mind out there in Bulls Nation. We'll get to as many comments as we can. But first,
beer.
Oh yes.
Between work, social media, and the choices life throws our way, it's no wonder we're more worked up. Coors Light celebrates rising above and choosing a chill mindset. Why not turn that rained-out barbecue into the Will to Go Gottlieb and Shirtless Wonder first annual karaoke house party in wrestling? Or, after a tough loss, settle scores with the ice-cold peace offering.
Full contact karaoke?
Mm-hmm. Off the top rope. Make the choice to choose chill and then reach for a Coors Light. It's mountain cold refreshment. Because when those mountains turn blue, you know just what to do. It's as cold as the Rockies. Cold lager, cold filter, and cold package for a smoother finish. So when you embrace the chill mindset, it's a good time to crack open that Coors Light and choose chill. Because like I said, it's crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Make the most out of your times to choose chill. Choose Coors Light. Get it delivered straight to your door via Instacart. Go to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Basketball. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
CHGO Bulls today also brought to you by Indeed. We're always driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. No. Don't search, match. And match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, messaging, all so you can connect with your candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree that Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to other job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. So Indeed is giving you speed, efficiency, and quality. Boom. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. Bulls, are you listening? Hire better people. And listeners of the show will get a $75 sponsor job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/AllCity. Just go to Indeed.com/AllCity right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on CHGO Bulls. Indeed.com/AllCity. AllCity. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Indeed. Yeah. I think because I'm looking at the teams in the East and just going over them as far as, who's going to be in the playoffs. The Celtics will be there, the Knicks, the Bucks, the Cavs, the Magic, the Pacers, the 76ers, and the Heat.
That's
8.
That's 8.
So there'll be 2 spots for that play-in, and it's
going to be the Bulls and the Hawks again.
There you go. It'll be Bulls, Hawks, Nets, Raptors, Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons. I do expect the Hornets to be better.
Wow, yeah, there are a lot of bad teams at the bottom of that list.
Yeah, a lot of bad. The Hornets are probably the best one I've mentioned because they're not trying. I don't think the Hornets are trying to lose. The Hornets are trying to win. They're going for it. They're paying money and making trades.
Here's the thing, so
that 10th seed is open.
The Hornets just drafted Tijan Salon. He is the most raw project in the entire draft.
Okay.
I think if they were trying to be more of a win now team, they would have gotten a more win now player in the draft. Same with the Pistons. Ron Holland, project, non-shooter, very much conflicts with Asar Thompson, who they picked last year.
Mm-hmm.
They just got Tobias Harris, so I don't know how that changes things. But I just think, and the Wizards are definitely tanking. The Nets are definitely tanking. I think the Raptors could be a team that tries to take a step forward here with Scotty Barnes now on a max deal. Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett. They're a bit more talented, but it's going to be between the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Nets for those final 3 spots. I'm sorry, the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Raptors for those final 3 spots. And the Bulls can't be the one that gets there because that just puts them in a position of like it's a complete crapshoot whether you keep your pick or not. You can't like have a down year where you're supposed to be bad and then not be bad enough.
I hear what you're saying. I still put the Hornets in there, though, because I think we're completely disregarding Brandon Miller and how good he is, because I think that growth is coming this year. He will be way better because that dude can play. It also depends on LaMelo Ball's health as well. That dude can play. That's an all-star we're talking about right there. They made moves to get better players, and even the coach switch that they did. Like, they're trying to play better, and they're trying to win.
Yeah.
So I think they'll be up there going for that play-in for sure. I think they'll be up there instead of – the Raptors are going to be up there just because they're the Raptors. They're the colossal Raptors. They'll always be – whether they're trying to or not, their downfall always comes in the second half of the season to let you know if they're trying to or not. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, they're playing to win. They just can't help it. That's who they are. I hear you. I hear the concern, though, about the Bulls because everybody else that is someone said the Pistons might be good trying to win. I don't know. We'll see. They may be that kind of squad.
The team that won 14 games?
Right, and beat the Bulls twice. That's what I said. And now they don't have, those guys on that team anymore. So we know the Wizards aren't going. Know the Nets, they traded their best players, Will stated. So those two teams, I think, are the for sure teams that won't be able to be in that play-in. Everybody else, I think, is kind of in that bunch. But I think those other teams are better than the Bulls as far as trying to make a play-in team.
The other way, and we've talked about this before, but like the other thing is the way that the lottery works, teams can jump up. So if the Bulls finish 6th worst in the league, the lowest they can fall is 10. That guarantees them to keep their pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
If they're 7th, they have a non-zero chance of falling out to 11. It's very small, but like less than 1%. But that grows as the further down you go. So, it's like 0.5% if you're the 8th. It's 3.5% if you are 9. If you are a 10 seed, you have a 19% chance of falling to 11. Mm-hmm. If you are the 11th seed, you have a 78% chance of staying at 11, 12.5% chance of moving down. And that's like much higher than your combined chance of moving back in. Mm-hmm. So I do think part of it is like the downside exposure to risk, where unless you get into that bottom 6, you do have a chance to lose your pick in the lottery. Mm-hmm. So there's also like, in addition to, you want to jump up in the lottery, there's just a good chance of you getting pushed out. So even if you do have a bad year and you do tank properly and you are in the bottom 7 or 8 teams, you could still lose out your pick. And then it's like,
so you just play.
It's just
gotta
be careful with it.
Just gotta play, man. And it also that's why we see the schedule as well, because I think how the schedule is set up is going to play into that as well. Is it going to be top heavy to start the season for the Bulls, or will they be getting their ass whooped, later in the season? Like, that's going to play into it too, man. I'm talking about the West when I say these things.
Yeah, okay.
So that's going to play into this also, man. I'm just very curious. I'm very curious.
Hey, well, everybody was sitting around saying, what the hell are we doing when the Bulls got out to a 5-14 start this past season? They got out to a 5-14 start this coming season. I'll be like, all right.
That's how you do it.
All right.
What's up?
What's up, Cooper Flag?
Are you rooting for them for the
mid-season
mid-season
videos
tournament?
of him at the select?
Yeah, he's playing on the USA Select team as they're preparing for the Olympics.
Getting back in transition, breaking up a go-ahead pass, and then coming down and getting a tip slam. Like, he is just
giving Will chills over here.
He's going to be so good.
Meanwhile, Dysfunctional in the comments said the Bulls are going to be beaten the play-in by the Heat and they'll get the 11th pick. It's coming. And I'm terrified of that possible scenario that you just kind of laid out, Will, as far as like if the Bulls are bad but not really bad next season, and however those ping pong balls bounce, sending that pick to San Antonio, man.
Yeah, I'm just interested to see how the schedule is set up too. That's going to be very important.
Andrew McKay in the comments saying, we have so little faith in Acme. We're asking if the Bulls can be in the 5 worst teams in the East, and we're not sure if they can do it. Facepalm.
That is the truth.
That is the truth. Like, that is, I think that's how a lot of Bulls fans feel right now, because we've watched, whether it's this regime or the previous regime, it's like this organization can't even tank properly. And yes, there's some luck involved. Sure. The Bulls got unlucky and ended up picking 7th in the draft 3 years in a row when they moved on from Jimmy Butler. And then obviously, doing that after moving on from D-Rose, Joakim, Luol, the rest of that core. And that, kind of goes back, and we can circle back to this, where this all started before we move on to Duarte with the DeMar DeRozan trade. Yeah. Like, we were sitting there on Saturday night saying, hey, we could have seen DeMar DeRozan walk away for nothing. And, Will, you said it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world if we did, if that's the way that this all got resolved. Instead, they managed to get a couple of second-round picks. The cash, Bulls fans don't care about, not our cash. and a young player in need of a change of scenery. Could it have been more than that? And is this the latest example of a Bulls front office that doesn't seem to ever get the upper hand in negotiating with other teams' front offices? Because even if you put the rosiest colored glasses on, I still feel like most people with a sane NBA head on their shoulders say, Josh Giddey for Caruso straight up? Really? You know, I'm surprised that we signed and traded DeMar away and didn't attach a draft pick with him somehow. And it's crazy and stupid that that's how I feel as a Bulls fan.
He's been hurt.
Been hurt before, Dave. That question is always attached to, okay, what's next when Bulls fans are trying to map out the future?
Yeah.
Well, do we have any faith in this team's front office, whether it was the old one or this one, to get the upper hand in any of these negotiations?
I mean, obviously their track record is what it is, but I do think they are generally heading in the right direction right now. I know people will argue that, you know, maybe they're not happy with the plan or they disagree with it, but like I think that their plan is to try to build a young core without having to like tank for the bottom for multiple years, try to keep their pick and add one of the premier young players in next year's draft. I think they probably need to try to keep their pick again in 2026, where there's another really loaded draft class headlined by AJ DeBansta and Cameron Boozer, who are both going to be, you know, potential number one picks in most drafts.
Grab it, Joe.
So they just, I think they need to just follow through with this and continue to try to extract value where they can. I think the value element of it has been the problem, but I think like the Zach LaVine trade is going to be a great example of how they prioritize picks right now, because I think if you want to get off of him by any means necessary, it's going to cost you. But if you want to play this out and let him try to rehab his value and come back and play well and see if you can trade him at least for neutral value, if not try to get a pick at the deadline, that could be good for the Bulls. And that could help them get themselves a little bit more on track, but it also could win them a few more games, which we've just talked about that being like a thing that they cannot do. So I think they're just in a tricky spot. And I think they started from a tough spot. And then as a result of that, as a result of the decisions that they made, they are now in another tricky spot where they're trying to thread this needle, and it's just going to be difficult. So, you know, I think in a lot of ways you want to hope for, you want to bet on the process. You want to, you know, stick to a plan and hope that it comes through for you. I think the odds and probability with this one are just a little bit more narrow than they would be in some other cases. But if it works, it could work much better, because you don't have to be the Nets where you're the worst team in the league for the next 3-4 years trying to pray for lottery luck.
Yeah, they got a lot of goodwill to kind of make up a lot of it of their own doing as far as how their actions and their words. A lot of it is their own doing on those situations. So it's why that when they make certain moves, people aren't over the moon about it, because they've been burned so many times before by things that have occurred and went down. And that's completely understandable. I get that. All you can do is start where you start at. That's really all you can do about it, and make better decisions and be smarter in your dealings. So you make, and I think that's kind of the issue that a lot of Bulls fans are kind of dealing with. We see them making the moves that they're supposed to make, but they're not the 100% correct right thing that we're looking at. Like Matt just mentioned, the Josh Giddey and Alex Caruso trade. Yes, trade Caruso, great. You got a player back, and you just walked away with the player for a team who has the most draft picks in the NBA. And then you saw them give up draft picks. Who was that recouped their pick? It was the Knicks who recouped their picks after they gave up all their picks, and they recouped those picks during the draft, and they were wheeling and dealing and doing a bunch of smart things. That's how you build good faith, you know, with your organization, because the Knicks were already good, and then they stockpile picks on top of that. That's how you build that good faith. You don't just sit and say, just watch what we do, and then do nothing. And that's the issue there with the front office. So they got work to do. Absolutely. They are doing the right thing, I think. I just need them to do more of the right thing, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, and I think the more of the right thing is the key here. Like, you can't get into a situation where you're just sitting on your hands for 3 more years.
Right.
This is going to take continued moves, and like not to say that like they refused to do anything. I know they were like looking into deals and just nothing ended up being the right move for them. But like they're going to need to continue to build on this and tinker and like try to let guys play well and then trade them and try to like buy low and then sell high on players like Chris Duarte, for example. That's just going to need to be like a big part of the next couple of years. And I think you have to be okay with the potential of selling high on some of your own young players, whether or not you like hope that they can be the building blocks of your next team. Like if the reward outweighs, what you have in it, if you can get more picks than, or, you feel like you get a really good deal on picks, then it should be okay with moving on from guys because you're going to need to pay them soon. And so it's not just about like, I like Kobe and I think he's a great player. It's like, well, how much do you want to pay Kobe on his next deal? And can you afford to do that if you have, other expensive players coming in? So I think they just need to continue to keep going. Like they just need to keep going with this direction. You can't like pause and like let things sit for too long because that's when guys start to decline in value.
A DK in the comments saying you couldn't even get Giddey for Caruso straight up in NBA 2K. Seriously, you need to attach 2 picks with Caruso to get that trade. SMFH, dude has straight trash takes. First of all, I don't play a lot of NBA 2K. I don't pay attention to NBA 2K trades. I pay attention to who gets what for which players in the actual National Basketball Association. Interesting way to bring up NBA 2K to talk about that. Clearly, if you feel that way, you believe in Josh Giddey as a young player with still soaring upside in front of him.
He does.
I see it less that way. I see Josh Giddey as, yes, a younger player than Alex Caruso, significantly, but a flawed player. A one-way player whose defense ain't great, who is a flawed player who needs the ball to be effective and can't shoot. But if that's a player that you need to pay Alex Caruso and 2 first-round picks for in NBA 2K, then cool. I don't know what the fuck we're talking about.
Giddey, I'm a little with Will on Giddey. I'm a little higher on him than you are, Matt. But everything you just said, I completely understand. I get it. It's just I see him actually getting better at those things. But all he can do is, what he can do. And you're right. And I think that's the point also is he does need to have the ball in his hands. And he's going to have the ball in his hands. So you're right. You're going to see him be effective. But it's that defense that we need to see the growth in. It's 3-point shooting we need to see the growth in. Again, like I said, we're going to get all these questions answered this year. We don't have to wait long, guys. It will not be long before these questions are answered, and I'm excited.
And speaking of questions, and speaking of Giddey and his usage next season and moving forward, Football CF Candy threw us a super chat saying, are the Bulls a bottom 6 team if they lose both Vooch and Zach from this roster?
I don't think so because you still have like Kobe and Io, Patrick. Like their core of players is so much better than the Nets and so much better than the Wizards. And, they have guys who could blow up a little bit, but like I don't think they're guaranteed to be in that bottom like 20%.
Depending on who you ask, getting Zach and Vooch off this roster would make the Bulls better because Zach is trash and Vooch is trash. Trash and trash gone. Team improves.
Trash and trash. Also, pause. Can we get those thumbs up, guys?
Oh,
Can we get them likes going right there? There's over 200 of y'all up in here watching this. Thank you.
Go.
By the way, but we're going to need those likes. Give it to the Sarah Bear. She needs them likes right there with the dope shirt she got on. She need it.
Dysfunctional say, hey, just change Giddey's stats to 99. He could be great.
2K, baby. I love it. Okay, I feel like I'm asking a rhetorical question because I'm thinking like how upset would Matt be if he watches Patrick Williams ball out? And I know the answer to this question. He's going to be upset. He's not going to be happy watching Patrick Williams if he balls out, if he becomes that dude is like, oh, shit, Patrick Williams.
Why would I be upset by that?
Because that could mean wins.
Oh, no.
For the squad.
No.
No? Him balling out don't mean wins?
I think a universe exists where we can see Patrick Williams finally take a big step production-wise.
Okay.
And it not translate to the Bulls winning too many games next season.
I hope that's the case. I would love to see it. I want to see him be better. I want to see him be that dude next season, man. Like, I need to see him. I need to see that happen this season.
I mean, like, if the question is which would I rather see, the Bulls successfully tank and be a bottom 5 record team next season to, maximize their opportunity at those Cooper Flag lottery balls, or Patrick Williams take some giant most improved player leap, I might lean P. Will, but no, I mean.
No, stay leading. Stay leading. Stay over there.
I'm sorry. I told you, man, like that. I still think that can be a value contract, 5 years, 90. And I say that while also feeling as low as I've ever felt about Patrick Williams right now.
Fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I think like if they make the play-in or the playoffs this year, like it has to be because Patrick was amazing and like Modest was amazing.
Yeah.
And like if you can guarantee that like the players on your roster are already good, it takes away from the pressure to hit a home run in the draft and to keep your pick. So to me, that does help you out. But why not both? Like why not, be in a position where you do keep your pick and you also have promising young players. I think that's what they're trying to do. And I know there's risk associated with it. I know it's not like a guarantee. I do think that is going to be like, there is a organizational push towards that, I would imagine. And you've seen it with other teams. 2 years ago when Dallas had a top 10 pick going to the Knicks, they tanked extremely hard their last 3 games. One of them was against the Bulls. They got a massive fine for it. But you know what? That was fine because they got Derek Lively out of it.
They did.
And he helped them get to the finals this year.
He did.
So like there has to be some organizational like incentive and intention behind being bad. And so I think you're more likely to run into that this year than you were last year for sure.
All right, with our remaining time, let's kind of talk about Chris Duarte a little bit. Okay. In case you missed it, Kevin Pelton for ESPN Plus did his trade grades throughout this free agency window. In the 3-team trade, he gave the Kings a C+, he gave the Bulls a C, he gave the Spurs an A. And on Duarte, Pelton had this thought, reminding people, lottery pick at age 24 when he was taken by the Pacers at the end of the lottery in 2021. Duarte is trending in the wrong direction after a strong rookie year with the Pacers. Over the past 2 years, Duarte has posted a dismal .502 true shooting percentage, without providing the kind of defense that would be needed to stay on the court without scoring either at volume or efficiency. It's the last year of Duarte's rookie contract, so the Bulls can walk away at season's end if his career doesn't turn around. A lot of people in Bulls Nation on Twitter pointing out and laughing at the fact that he was, along with Ayotumu and other new Bull Josh Giddey, all rookie second team in that impressive rookie year that Kevin Pelton mentioned. Yeah. But those shooting splits are not great. His rookie year, he averaged 13 points a game on 43, 37, 80. That's respectable. This past season with the Kings, when his minutes fell all the way to 12 minutes compared to, when he was playing his rookie year in Indiana, he played a lot. Yeah. Shooting splits 38% from the field, 34% from three. Okay. Low volume of attempts. 79 from the free throw line. Like, what do you make of Duarte as his role this upcoming season, Will? Is he going to play? Where is he going to play? Should he play? Is the Bulls giving him an opportunity for a fresh start, something that could lead to the Bulls re-signing this guy? Or was it just like, well, we'll take this guy because we have to take this guy?
I mean, I think you got to leave your options open. He did have a good season in his rookie year and just did not really get kind of set into the rotation with Sacramento. He was only playing 12 minutes a game. And I think when your minutes go down and your usage goes down, it makes every shot that you take matter a little bit more. It puts a little bit more pressure on you to make those shots. And I think that can be hard for a lot of players. So hopefully with a little bit more room to run, he can regain his shooting form a little bit, continue to play better defense. But I think the Bulls, for them, it's just like you need to get value. And so if that means Duarte turns into like a rotation player and he's great and he's a fixture of your rotation, you want to bring him back on a reasonable deal, fine. If it means you've got a $5.8 million expiring contract and a guy who could be useful to a contending team because he's 27 years old and in the prime of his career and could get you a pick, you got to be open to that too. Yeah. And so I think that's kind of the mentality that the Bulls should move forward with, whether it's talking about Chris Duarte or anybody else on the roster. Mm-hmm. You have to be thinking about maximizing value. And I think so far the way that they've kind of gone about things with the rebuild is we want to get a core together. Right, we want to get Kobe and Ayo and Patrick and Giddey and Modest. Yeah, that's our core. So we're gonna have to spend a little bit more than we maybe want in order to like set things in place, get that foundation laid. But now you're in a point where you've got your guys. The priority now becomes shifting towards picks and like mobility and flexibility and value. That has to be the priority moving forward. And if he becomes a fixture of the rotation, that's awesome. But I don't think you can really get married to anybody on the roster to the point where you're not doing anything for the next 3 years because you're just so far away. And I think they know that. I think that's why they went out and got Giddey instead of a pick package for Caruso, because it was like, we know we're going to have a hard time offloading Zach. We know we're not going to get a massive haul for DeRozan. If we want to get a young player that fits this timeline and this core, Caruso's our only way to do that. So let's go do that this way, and then let's start to get value in other places. I think that has to be kind of the approach of Arturis when he's talking about Duarte and with anybody else in the roster.
First of all, was it Joshua Simmons who called him the Puerto Rican Chris Duarte?
Yeah.
Which is hilarious, by the way. I died laughing, dog. I was cracking up reading that. That is funny. Also, South Garcon is kind of where I want to start this, where he says he put up numbers on a bad team. He said, waive them. Waive them wasn't my thought, but the put up numbers on a bad team. And I think that may be something to that, because he was on a bad team and he had the ball in his hands and he was able to do a lot that he wanted to do that rookie season. When they started getting a little bit better that next year, you saw his numbers dip. And obviously he went to the Kings. And I don't watch a ton of Sacramento. I didn't watch a ton of Sacramento this past year, but I do know that they have several guards on that squad. And Mitchell couldn't even really get tick. And I love Davion Mitchell. He's not even there anymore, but he couldn't even get tick on that squad. So it might be something to that. But guess what? Now he's coming to a team that's expected to be a bad team. So maybe his numbers get a little bit better. Maybe he does some things. He's 6'5". He's fiery. He's not scared of the shot. He wants the ball, in those clutch moments. He enjoys that pressure. This is him talking about these things, but I've seen him also. But he wants that kind of pressure, and he's solid. He's not a passer per se like that at the point guard position. He's kind of more of a scorer at that position. But he'll give you about 4 assists, on a good day. He'll give you about 5 rebounds, something like that. I believe his highest from 3 was 37% with that rookie season. He shot about that. So, and then just kind of fell off a cliff those next 2 years.
31.5 his second year, 34.5 his third year.
Yeah, that's falling off of that cliff there. So we'll see if he can regain it and get it back up, because that's also another question. That's still a question for this Bulls team, is 3-point shooting. Still a question, which is why I'm not concerned about the losing, because you can't shoot threes in this league. You're going to lose. That's how that works. But I'm interested to see. And is he still someone that the Bulls can trade in the upcoming season, or do they have to hold on to him?
I believe the way that this works with trade, with players that you get via trade, is that they cannot be aggregated in another trade. So, like, the Bulls couldn't say, let's put Duarte and Javon Carter together, 5.8 for Duarte, $6 million, 6.5 for Javon Carter. Let's go get a $12 million player. I don't think you could do that for, I believe it's 3 months. Okay. So like September, but they could trade him 1-for-1, or put him into another team's space and get a pick back, something like that.
Okay.
So that's, I think, we were talking about Zach earlier, and I saw somebody bring up the Pistons. Like, they just don't have a lot of movable salary right now. One of the guys that they do have that they could move is Tim Hardaway Jr., but since they just traded for him, you can't aggregate him with another salary for another few months. And so that could be kind of a holdup with something getting done with the Pistons. If that's possible. I'm not saying it is.
Yeah.
So Flex Bernardo Jr. in the comments pointing out Duarte has been playing well in these Olympic trial games. Shout out to Emilio the Poet, who made the correction on the comments. Duarte is Dominican, not Puerto Rican.
Yeah, still funny.
Still funny. Yo, I'm Cuban, B.
You're Cuban. Yes, Cuban B.
Yes, Cuban B. I'm curious to see where he fits into this puzzle that Billy Donovan has to figure out this upcoming season and in training camp. And the thing is, good young player just needs to change the scenery. Like, I had forgotten that Duarte was a 24-year-old rookie.
Yes, until he just said it, I completely forgot it.
Yeah.
Absolutely
so it's
right.
That's what this player is, this player.
Yeah. And he's playing well right now for his home team, but that's usually how we kind of see things, right? Like, the average player in the NBA is just elite when they start playing that world basketball. So I'm interested to see, but I can't take that away from him. He's playing very well for his home country right now.
We're just about out of time. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Hit the like button on your way out if you didn't do it yet. Just a reminder that we still got plenty of fun off-season content for y'all ahead. Free agency kind of winding down. Bulls roster looks fairly set unless an unexpected Levine trade happens or Vooch trade happens in the coming days or weeks. If it does, we will be here. Emergency pods as always, just like we did for DeMar sign and trade Saturday. In the meantime, free agency, check. Summer League on deck. We are all heading out to Vegas Friday morning. Yeah. We will be there for the Bulls' first 2 games of Summer League, Saturday and Sunday. We will have shows for y'all from Vegas Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And that being the case, we are going a little bit lighter through the first part of this week. So we're actually off tomorrow. We'll be back Wednesday with a fantastic episode. Somebody the Bulls fans are probably going to be very interested to hear from, who is connected to that number 11 overall pick, Modest Buzelis. So make sure you tune in for that on Wednesday. In the meantime, make sure you read Will's stuff, allchgo.com. Big Dave is at BAWL Sports. Will's at Will_Gottlieb. Shout out and thanks to our wonderful producer, Sarah, on the controls today. Joey has been on vacay. He will be back later this week. Yes. Excited to get him back on the crew. And he will be out there in Vegas with us.
He will.
I am so excited to take an of-age Joey Spathis out to Vegas.
That just sounds wrong. But go ahead. All right.
I'm just saying. Joey hasn't gotten to go with us the first 2 years. It was just the lean crew year 1, and then he was off at camp year 2.
That's true. And now he goes from camp to a roulette table. It's kind of how you're looking at that. You're not fooling me.
It's kind of like camp.
Kind of like camp?
It's kind of like camp.
Because you're camping out right there at the table?
That's right. Everybody have a great Monday evening. Have a great Tuesday. We will talk to you on Wednesday unless something crazy happens tomorrow. Warranting an emergency pod. In the meantime, see Red, be good.
Same here. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.